Hey Watchaholics, welcome back to my channel. Guys, today you already know what we're doing today. We're going to be talking about Dated and Related. Guys, this show to me is, okay, so Netflix in September released this show called Dated and Related, which is basically another reality love show for Netflix. And as I was saying before, I think Netflix puts out some good content, reality TV wise. There's some that are pretty bad, like the ultimate of marry me or move on. That should just never continue. That one actually I think was pretty bad. But some of my favorites: Love Is Blind, Too Hot to Handle. How I feel about this show, Dated and Related. So Dated and Related is basically a TV show or a reality TV show, excuse me, where all of these siblings go together in pairs to this villa in like this beautiful place wherever in the world they are. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm pretty sure that's why most people are inclined to want to go and do these kind of shows, is because they get to like travel to like a really beautiful place. That's a perk. I mean, I want to travel, just saying. I want to be out in the sun, I want to travel, I want to meet some people, maybe meet some boys, in that age, of course. But basically they show up with these you have a sibling, and basically the whole point of the show is for your sibling to help you find love. It wasn't good. This to me is a show that, like, if it gets renewed for season 2, like, I'd watch it just to see if it's better than season 1. Season 1 to me was just like, it was like an okay show, but it's just sometimes a little bit too like manipulated for me. Like, I don't think it's scripted necessarily, but I do think it can be, the producers manipulate a lot of the situations a little bit too much. And then you've got some people on this season that, oh my, I can't wait to talk about them, because, and I'm not on this channel to like, talk about people like in a very negative way or anything like that. This is just my opinion from what I see on TV and how these people are being perceived as. Today's episode, I'm going to kind of recap this season, but not by episode. I did watch it like a while ago now, but somebody actually asked that I recapped and reviewed this show on my channel, so I thought, why not give the people what they want? So here we are. So let's start off with our first couple. No couples. We're not gonna talk about the couples yet. We're gonna talk about the siblings individually. So we have Joey and Karina, and Joey and Karina. Now, I actually really liked them as people on this show. They were one of my favorite siblings. They were very cute. Joey literally reminds me of like a Justin Timberlake type, and Karina reminded me of like Amanda Seyfried, like, even though they're not related, but they could literally look like these actors and singers. They're from Seattle. They were super duper like I could understand, like I really saw their relationship together, and I really, really liked them as people. Karina did not find love, and neither did Joey. Spoiler alert, they did not find love in the villa. But I have hopes for them in the future. So don't worry, we're getting to the couples as after I do like a full recap of the show. So then we've got Kaz and Kieran. Kaz and Kieran, I liked them. I really liked Kieran. He was like definitely like a kind of guy that I would like really be into, like personality wise, like definitely like the fun goofster guy at the party who's just trying to make everyone like get along, and just really like a good person to be around, really good energy. I really liked him. I liked them both as like, I actually just liked them both. They didn't give me fake, like they seemed like genuine people that were there to find love and find their person. Now this isn't The Bachelor. We're not talking about like this is serious, like we're gonna get married, but like they were there to find love. And this actually brings me back to a thought that I had just had while talking about this, is that the difference between this show and Too Hot to Handle, I think, is Too Hot to Handle has like really horny people who just want to have sex and make out with people, and like that's all they really care about. They're not necessarily there for relationships. But on this show, like everyone here isn't necessarily there for that. Like you can tell that there were some people, others not so much. We'll get into it. But you could tell that there were some people on this show that were here to genuinely like find somebody and like see if there was something there. Oh, by the way, you do win some money at the end of this, but you win it as a couple, not individually. So you better find love, which I think that's why a lot of people who weren't necessarily there to find love, they were just there more for the clout or just to be on TV. I think once they realized that you had to win as a couple, people were like trying to like pair themselves up with people just to make the money. And that's not what the show was. So that was very disappointing to see some people being like, fake, fake, fake. You're not here for love. You are here for money and the clout. Get off. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. So anyway, back to Kaz and Kieran. I really liked them. I thought they were really, really good bros. Really, really. They were fraternal twins, though. They were twins. Isn't that funny? Fraternal, though. Definitely because they didn't look anything identical. But anyway, on to Maddie and Lily Bajor. Maddie and Lily, they didn't make it through this show very far. That I will say. Maddie and Lily, they were kicked off at some point just because like they weren't finding any connections. And that's something that happens genuinely throughout these shows, this one and Too Hot to Handle specifically, is that people, if once the producers start noticing like, oh, these people aren't going to find anyone, they got to take them off. So, yeah. They were okay for me, but you could tell like they weren't really trying. And you have to try. And these girls weren't trying. So they were gone, and I was fine with that. Then we had Diamond and Dion, Diamond, I think, okay. I didn't really know how I felt about them. I think they were also, I think Diamond wasn't necessarily really trying to find someone. And like, I think from like the first or second episode, I already knew. I'm like, oh, y'all are going to get kicked off. Y'all don't have a match here. Dayan, oh my God. I'm sorry if I'm repronouncing your name wrong. Dayan. Anyway, he was like way too kind of like nerdy and goofy for this kind of crowd. I can definitely see that like he could be a really good, I definitely saw potential there for him to be like a really great catch for someone, but just not for anyone in this villa. Like as soon as he got on and he was talking about who he was and he started talking and his style, I was like, ooh, y'all aren't going to make it through the season, which they did not. They did get kicked off at some point. Then we had Jason Cohen and Chris Hahn. Oh, we're getting into the people who I started to like really be like, don't know if I really like you. So we have Jason and Chris, who are cousins, but they like basically grew up together, so they're like brothers pretty much. I did not like these guys. Sorry, Jason, Chris. I'm pretty sure outside of this show, outside of what this show's projecting you guys to look like, you are great guys, probably great friends. But y'all gave me such fraternity boy vibes and F-boy vibes. I was like, the moment they started talking to the girls, I was like, get them off screen. They are not here for the right reasons. As they love to say in the Bachelor world, you are not here for the right reasons. No. Get out, sir. Get out, get out, get out. I was not a fan of these guys. They were just trying to talk to all the girls, just trying to, like, find something that wasn't there because I'm pretty sure they just wanted to be there for the clout and the money. And that's fine. That's totally okay. You can be on a show for the money. A lot of people do it. It's fine. But don't act like you like people. So, next. We've got Diana and Nina. And, oh God, these women, I did not like them. And what bothered me the most is that for some odd reason, every guy wanted to be with them. Every guy was like attracted to them. And I was like, these girls are not even real looking. I'm pretty sure those boobs were not real. I'm pretty sure those lips were definitely not real. And whenever I see that, I'm always just like, what? What did girls, like, what do the guys see in them? Like, I think Karina was much prettier than them. Like, much more beautiful than them. And people were just like, oh my God, Diana and Nina. Oh my God. Like, oh, I want Nina. Oh my God. And I'm just like, why? Is it just because they have like those dark features and they're just exotic looking? That's probably what it is that they are exotic looking. They aren't like your typical white girl. They are, I believe, Persian? No, I take that back. They're from London, but they're Iranian. That's where they're from. They're from Iran. So they're just exotic to, I think, a lot of the men there, and that's why they gravitate towards them. But I don't know. I didn't like them. They had serious trust issues throughout this whole season. Blew so much stuff out of proportion. And I wasn't a fan. Even though at the end they did find love, but I was not a fan of them. So moving on, we have Danielle and Julia from Canada. Daniel and Julia, they were very Canadian. Very nice and very quiet and very Julia, I swear, was so quiet. I just was very uncomfortable watching her on screen because she was so quiet. I was like, why are you on a reality TV show? Like, this is not for you. Like, usually there are people who are on reality TV have really big personalities and there's lots going on. But she was so, quiet and just kind of boring. Like, I found nothing about her that was, fun to watch. But yet she was also kind of a little bit of a hot commodity. Beautiful girl. Don't get me wrong. Beautiful. Obviously, she's got light eyes with dark features. That's always a beautiful thing in a man or a woman. But, my God, I was bored every time she was on screen. Then we had Kaylin, I think it's Kaylin and Alara. Love them. I loved them. Alara was my favorite. I think she was the realest person in this whole house, to be completely honest. I wanted them to find love so bad. Just genuinely looked like Kaylin looked genuinely like he was there for love, and so was she. Yeah, when they came in, they ruffled some feathers pretty rough because they came in a little bit later in the season than they weren't right away. They kind of came in episode 3 or 4 or something like that. So they definitely shook some shit up, which we'll talk about. But I just genuinely, as siblings, I loved them. I loved them as people in the house. I wish them the best. And then, guys, because they brought in, towards the end, they always bring in, I think these are people who probably just weren't, their first picks, as in, let's bring them in first. So they kind of always bring them in, towards the end of the season. So they're kind of forced to start relationships or forced to make something happen even though there's nothing there. And to me, the worst people of this whole freaking show were William and Henry from London. Oh my God, I could not stand them on this show. Talk about fake ass people who are on here pretending that they're trying to find love when really the only thing they're there for is some money and for some cloud exposure. That is why they're there. And I could not take them. And forgive me, because William and Henry were twins and they were identical. So I actually can't remember which one I hated more, if it was William or Henry. I think it's William. That was worse than Henry. I think. Basically, they were just huge, smooth talkers that would just tell girls what they wanted to hear, and then, that was it. That's what they were there. Oh, yeah, I really like you, blah, blah, blah. And then behind the cameras, they'd be oh, yeah, I think we're great. Everything's great. I really like her. I think it's really going to work out. And then the girl would be so I'm not really into it. And then instead of actually saying what they felt, they'd be oh, yeah, you know what? I was feeling the same way. Liar. Freaking liar. Oh my God, I could not stand them. We'll talk about them later. I cannot stand them. And lastly, we had Andy and Rachel from Northern Ireland. I don't know why I'm making these accents because I clearly can't do an Irish accent. Specifically Northern Ireland. They're very specific. But guys, I felt for them because they brought these two siblings in literally 2 episodes before the end. And I'm what was the point? Clearly they're not going to make a lasting connection with someone that late on when you've got people in the house that are already have already connected, have a relationship, that I've already been with each other, and then you just bring in these last 2 people expecting them to find love and be able to connect and then win money together. they were done dirty, and I actually really liked them together. I thought they were, I mean, from what I had, I mean, like, they were only on the show for like 3 episodes, I think, or something like that. I mean, it could have changed over time, but in the 3 episodes that I saw them, I thought they were genuinely, like, really, like, great. Like, I thought they were nice people, and I enjoyed them. I think they were there, like, to possibly help each other find love, but, like, they just weren't given enough time. Like, they were like, oh, we need 2 more people. Like, oh, these are good. Bring them in. Boop. There you go. Plop them in, and, like, just stupid. I felt bad for them. But Rachel did put, I think it was William, I think it was, in his place. And for that, cheers to you. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, so let's talk now overall recap of the show. So basically the show, at the end, like throughout the series, what they'll do is, like, they'll have them, you know, if they win a challenge or something like that, what they'll do is they'll have the siblings get to pick somebody for their person that they want to go on a date with. And then all 4 siblings go on a date together, which is so awkward. Imagine going on a date with your sibling. Like, awkward. No one wants to be there. Like, seeing your sibling flirt with somebody, it's just weird, but that's the show you're on. It's called Dated and Related, and you're trying to help your sibling find love. Let's talk about the people who did find love and how they found their love. So first things first, obviously, like I said, the Nina and Diana were really, really big commodities, and the guys that won in the first couple of episodes there were Kaz and Kieran. Kaz got in with Diana, and Kieran got in with Nina, I believe. It's so hard when everyone's a twin. Like, you're like, wait, which one was which? I think that's correct. And Kaz and Diana, like, from day one, were like, boom. Like, you're the one I want. You're the one that I want. Yes, together. We're together. But then Karina ended up really kind of liking Kaz and wanted to kind of get with him. So they went on a date together. This was, like, Diana's test. And I can't stand when people do this, because then, like they're watching them and being like, oh, they better not go on that date with them. I'm like, guys, like, you just met. You're all here to find people. Like, let's see what turns out. But at the end of the day, Kaz still chose Diana. He was like, there's no one else I want to be with. I want to be with you. And he chose Diana. And spoiler alert, they made it to the end. To the very end. And once they kind of solidified their relationship, they were just together. I think they did have a couple of bumps in the road. You know, you had new people come in, and they did have bumps in the road. But in the end, they did get through it, and I believe they are still together to this day. So good for them. Happy, even though I don't really see what he sees in her, but here we are. And then you had Kieran, who was into Nina, and guys, the juicy drama. It's some of the best parts of the whole season, actually. So Kieran and Nina were a couple, but Nina started to feel like Kieran was not proving to her that he was into her, because he went on a date with Alara. So when Alara comes in, first thing she sees is Kieran, and she wants Kieran. She's like, no, I want him. He's the one that I want. I want to be with him. And she kind of stirs the pot, really ruffles the feathers there, because she does win a challenge, and she does end up taking Kieran with her. And Nina is not a fan about that, does not like it. But because Kieran didn't shut down the flirt, or didn't shut down everything with her, she felt like betrayed, and she felt that Kieran wasn't like picking her, when that wasn't necessarily the case. Like, I don't think Kieran was like necessarily flirting with Laura. I think that she just has like a very social like nature. So to him, like, he was just being nice and being talkative and talking back to her. I don't think he was necessarily being like, hey, I kind of like you. I think he was still into Nina, but Nina, because she has so much trust issues, she was throwing all those insecurities onto Kieran, and Kieran was like, well, fuck this. I'm not about to live this life. And what pissed me off was the communication was so bad between them because no one communicated how they were feeling. And Nina was one of those people that was very like, oh no, he should know how I feel. And this is something that is a big thing that many couples and a lot of women specifically go through. I mean, I know I've done it where you want the guy to just know how you feel, and unfortunately, like, that's not how it works. And guys just can't read your mind. Like, they literally cannot. They are not capable of doing that. And because Nina was just saying like, oh, he should know what he did, blah blah blah, she basically messed up her own relationship because she couldn't just trust that Kieran was into her. So that went bad. That had a huge fight. It went bad, and Kieran was like, you know what? I think we should just end this. Like, this is wrong. Whatever. Boom, boom, boom. So they ended that. I was like, oh, shoot, okay. But yeah, so then Joey and Karina, I kind of want to start off with the couples again. So then Joey and Karina, like I said, Karina was really, really into Kaz. Kaz. But obviously he rejected her, and I was so bad. So I felt so bad because I could tell she actually was really interested in him, and he just kind of was like, I'm sorry, I'd rather be with Diana. And I'm like, oh, okay. So she kind of went alone on her sorrows, and that became Karina's thing. She just got rejected by everyone the whole season, and I felt so bad because she was such a nice girl. Which, by the way, let's spill some tea. We find out, like, I don't know, second to last episode, that she's waiting till marriage. And she tells, I think she's on a date with, like, Andy, one of the people who came in last, and who she was interested in. She's like, I just thought I should tell you, like, I am waiting till marriage. And I'm just like, oh my, is this the show you really want to be on? I mean, thank God she wasn't on Too Hot to Handle. Like, obviously she would never be on that show, but Andy was just like, fuck. Well, I can't be with a girl who's a virgin. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. And I mean, I knew that relationship would never continue, but contrary to what my reaction was, I have no problem with her waiting till marriage. I'm just like, good for you, girl. Good for you. Cheers to you. Proud of you. You do you, girl. Everyone will do it when they are ready. And if you want to wait till marriage, good for you. I just find it interesting that she was like kind of like on this show. And she kind of gave a very, like, in the beginning of the show, she did give off, like, in the intro, it was like more of like a kind of like fun vibe, I hook up, with guys and stuff. But my opinion of her changed throughout the season, and I think she was a very sweet girl was really just looking for someone, for a boyfriend, for looking for a guy, for her match. But so it doesn't work out with Kaz, and then secondly, she does go after what's his name, Mr. Light-Eyed Canadian here. Sorry, I got my notes on my side here. Daniel. She does end up going for Daniel when they come into the house later on, because remember, at first it's only a certain, like, they kind of slowly come in, like, first it's just like 4 couples, and then it becomes like 5, then it becomes 6, and then a couple leaves, and vice versa. So then Daniel comes in, and she's really interested in him, and they kind of hit it off. I was like, oh, this is nice. And Daniel and Joey end up becoming like bros, like really big bros. They're like best friends. They're super happy. And then Joey ends up liking Daniel's sister, Julia. Not a good couple. But first, before we get into that, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Daniel ends up breaking up or just telling Corinne that he tells Karina that he's just like, I'm sorry, like, I'd rather pursue things with Nina. Nina, really? Why? And then on top of the fact that you chose somebody who's like really far away, because he's in Canada and she's in London, at least she's in Seattle and you live in Alberta. Like, that's a little bit closer of a relationship. But people aren't also thinking about the fact that, like, the person that they're choosing is like, doesn't live in their same country as them, so that always puts a little thing. And I'm like, dude, you should have thought about that. I'm like, she lives in London. You'd rather be with someone in London than someone who lives in Seattle? Much closer to you. Just saying. Actually, I take it back. They don't live in Alberta. Why did I say Alberta? They live in somewhere in Ontario. I forget where. But anyway, that's besides the point. So Julia and Joey kind of hit it off at first. And this is the relationship to me that made absolutely no sense. You have two people that are extremely quiet, who don't make moves, and do not communicate to each other. The relationship's not going to go anywhere because you have literally, like I just said, a guy who's really quiet and a girl who's really quiet, a girl who wants to be chased and a guy that doesn't realize that he's not chasing her, but she's not communicating enough that she's interested in him because she's so reserved and quiet and kind of keeps to herself that he starts to think that she is not into him, so he goes away. And then she's just like, well, why is he pulling away? Like, why doesn't he talk to me? Why? And I'm like, well, it's because you're giving the vibe that you're not really into him. And it's because they're just both too damn quiet. Sometimes you need an opposite in that reaction. If you have two people who are very introverted, things might not move. You might need someone who's just a little bit more extroverted than you in order for things to happen, because if not, things might never happen. And that's what happened with them. They basically fizzled out because she was just like, he's not giving me any attention. And it's because he was too quiet. He was too shy. And she was too shy. Two shy people ain't going anywhere. So obviously when William and Henry come into the villa and they're like, when William, I think it was, I forget which one it is. Whatever. If you know, comment down below because I'm confusing them. I'm going to say William. William comes in and into the house and he's just like, okay, I want to go out with Julia. And because he is much more extroverted, much more going after what he wants, she finds that more attractive at this point because she's like, oh, someone's actually interested in wanting to go out with me. So she leaves Joey, which ends up biting her in the buttocks. Hardcore, because William ends up being an a-hole. And one of the reasons why I can't stand him. He talks over a woman. He talks over her. He just tells her what he wants to say. And she like picks up on it. And she's just like, I have nothing. I do not like this guy. And then that's when she starts regretting leaving Joey. And then she kind of goes back to Joey. And Joey's just like, I don't know. Like, she needs to apologize to me. And I'm like, guys, you were both in the wrong. There was no communication. Like, I think they both just should have just been like, listen, I'm sorry. Like, I just thought you didn't like me. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm just not really, I'm like, that's what happened. But I just think that Joey was then like taking it out on her and being like, oh, well, you betrayed me. You chose someone else to go to the prom instead of me. There's a prom episode where everyone gets to choose who they want to go to prom. And Joey and Kaylin end up going with each other because no one asks them. And I felt so bad. So let's move on to Kaylin and Alara. So Alara, like I said, really like, on an episode she decides to take Kieran on a date, and then that's when all the ruffled the feathers, because she went after somebody who was kind of dating someone else. It was very brave of her, but you could tell like that's who she was. She was like, well, I like him, I'm gonna ask him out, you never know. But in the end, she does end up getting Kieran. Good for her. Applaud for Alara. She does end up continuing to go after him, and he eventually is like, you know what, like, she's a really cool girl, I really like hanging out with her, and they end up becoming a couple. Happy for them. And she's just like, you know, very, very fun, the personality really goes with Kieran. I do believe they did make it to the end. They didn't make it to the end, but they did not win. But then I believe in the afterwards, we did find out that they are just friends now. So didn't work out in the outside world, but they did make it technically all the way in the show. Kaylin did not. He got sent home, I think, like, this is when he got sent home. So when they just, at the end, I think it was like a second to last episode, they brought in the last two Irish, Andy and Rachel, the two Irish folk. They bring them in last. And then there's the producers are such assholes. Well, they go and tell Rachel, oh, so you have to pick out of these three guys. You have to pick either Kaylin, William, or Henry, because they're the only ones that are not matched. And she's like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah. And then whoever you don't pick has to go home. And I was like, savage producing! Producers, you're savage! So savage. I can't get over how savage they were doing that shit to her. So, unfortunately, Kaylin, like, really tried to connect with her and, like, tried to be, like, like, he tried. And I'll give him that. Like it does suck because, like I said, like, everyone's, like, rushing at the end because they're like, oh, crap, like, I don't want to go home. Like, I have to find someone. But I didn't think that he was trying. Like, I didn't think it was trying in a, like, a bad way, like William and Henry. But he tried, and unfortunately she just didn't get that vibe from him. Like, she just didn't get that romantic vibe from him, unfortunately. So he did end up going home, and she did end up picking William, I believe it was William. But yeah, it was really hard. It was really sad because Alara was like, she's really close to her brother. So yeah, so he ended up going home. He did not find love. I was really sad for him. He was a good fella. But yes, then we had, like I said, Nina and Daniel. They became a thing and they stayed till the end. I did not understand that couple, that pairing whatsoever. I had no idea what they saw in each other. I had no idea where it started. It kind of was just like, I like Nina, I like Daniel, and then they were together and they made it to the end. I think they are still trying the long distance thing from updates and stuff. That's what it seemed like. I was like, I don't know. I don't see it. I hope if they're together, I'm happy for you. But I just didn't get the vibe, not even one little bit. And then we had Jason and Chris. They did go home, I think, like I forget which episode they went off. Maybe episode like 5 or something like that, maybe. Jason and Chris, yeah, they got sent home. They made no connections whatsoever in the house. Like, no one was just, like, interested in them. And I think it's just because they were just they gave too much of, like, frat boy, like, energy and very, like, F-boy energy. And I think the girls already, and they just were, like, not really into it. Like, literally the girls were like, no. Now, did they try to find love for their other person? I would say that they did advocate. They tried their best, but I think they were too focused on, like, being bros that, like, they didn't really think too much of, like, really, really, really being like, let's find some love here, guys, Oh, so what I do want to talk about next is actually the way that they introduced Alara and Kaylin and Daniel and Julia, because what they did, and I thought this was genius, I loved it. What they did was they brought the guys together down, and then to all the guys. So what they did was Kaylin and Daniel got to interview every single guy, and ask them questions to see who they think would be a good match for their sister. And then at the same time, Julia and Alara were sitting in the back watching these interviews and watching the guys, and then they would be giving their, like, thoughts, like, oh yeah, I like that guy, I hope my brother picks this guy, because basically Daniel and Kaylin had to pick dates for that night for the girls, some of them. And oh my god, it was hilarious watching these guys, like, sell themselves to, like, be like, oh, I gotta be a perfect match for your sister, without really seeing what they looked like. So that was pretty funny. I think the guys did not pick the girls the guys did not pick the choices the girls had for who they would really have wanted to go on a date with. But I thought that was a really cool way to kind of, like, introduce them, was, like, actually just being like, who do you think your sibling should be with? Because they know who their sibling is better than anybody. So, like, they would have a good idea of being like, oh, I think my sister or my brother would be really interested in this person. I really like that. I hope they can, if they do have a second season, I hope they continue it with that. But yeah, so pretty much, like, at the end, like I said, we had some people who were, like, in and out, and I just was like, meh. Like, the only real people that, like, really mattered were Joey and Karina, Kaz and Kieran, Diana and Nina, Daniel and Julia, Kaylin and Alara. Those were really the only people that, like, actually, like, mattered in the scale of things. Like, they were the only ones that I think were, like things actually happened. Everyone else was kind of just, like, there and not there for the right reasons. And I just don't really want to spend more time talking about people like William and Henry, who just pissed me off, and I just could not stand them on the screen. Like, could not stand them. Like, not even a little bit, guys. Like, I could not tell. I could not. If you watched this show, can you please let me know if I'm alone? Because honestly, I did not like William and Henry. They were just so fake to me, and I just could not stand them. But guys, overall, I just want to give my thoughts about the show overall. Now, the one gripe I had with the show is that the whole point of the show was to help your sibling find love. And I don't think any of the siblings here actually really did anything to, like, help them find love. Like, they were just there with them for the ride. Like, I never felt like I saw a sibling go to another sibling and be like, hey, like, I want to find out more about you because I want to, like, know if you would be a good match for my brother or my sister. Like, I never saw that. Like, or if they did, they didn't show it on screen. It was pretty much just, like, people in a house together, and then you just gravitated towards who you wanted to gravitate towards. Like, you might give them some, like they could have been a sounding board. Like, if you're like, hey, like, I'm having this, I like them, but I don't know how to do it, things like that. But, like, other than that, I felt like no one really, really helped their sibling find love. I think everyone just found love on their own. So the show the whole purpose of it was kind of invalid. Like, it didn't really go anywhere, Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of this one. And Netflix, I'd be okay if this one didn't come back, to be honest. I'd be fine if this was just a one and done and that was it. But, yeah. Oh, also, I did want to talk about one little thing. I did think it was really cute that by the end of the show, Kaz did tell Diana that he loved her and asked her to be his girlfriend, and, like, all that stuff actually progressed. They were the only couple who actually said, I love you, said, I want you to be my girlfriend, and they ended up winning the money together. So, and I think they're still together. So, at least this experiment situation worked for somebody. So, good there. But all in all, like I said, if the show didn't come back, I'd be fine without it. Bring on Too Hot to Handle Season 4. I'm here for you. I'm ready for more excitement. I'm ready for more Love is Blind, because I cannot wait for Love is Blind after the altar. I can't wait. But guys, anyway, that is the end of today's video. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you watched Dated and Related, give me a comment down below. Let me know which couple you were rooting for, which couple you couldn't stand, what siblings you were not a fan of. I love to sound off in the comments with you, so let's do it. And of course, click that subscribe button because it's going to be a good time. Remember, I'm covering all reality TV, so if you like reality TV stuff, please come back here. I'll be chatting all about it. Okay, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!